You didn't find this video. I want you to understand that before we go any further. You didn't find this video. This video found you, and the moment you felt that pull, that quiet tug somewhere behind your ribs, before your finger even touched the screen, your quantum field had already begun to shift. Most people scrolled past this. Most people saw the title and kept moving, and that is exactly as it should be, because this signal was not meant for most people. It was meant for the ones who stopped, the ones who felt something stir before the mind had time to explain what it was or why it mattered. That stirring is not random. It is not curiosity. It is not boredom looking for stimulation. It is recognition. Something inside you recognized something in this moment before your conscious mind could catch up. And that recognition, that quiet knowing that arrived before thought, is the single most important thing happening in your life right now. Because it means a process has already begun. Not a process you chose, not a process you planned, a process that chose you. And by the time you become aware of it, by the time you feel it moving through the way you think, the way you respond, the way reality itself seems to be rearranging around you, it has already been underway for longer than you realize. There is a word for what is happening inside you, a precise, measurable, scientifically recognized word. And that word is activation. Not activation in the way self-help uses it. Not motivation, not hype, not the temporary surge of energy that comes from watching something inspiring and fades by Tuesday. This is quantum activation. This is the moment when a system that has been running on scattered, fragmented, competing frequencies begins to consolidate into something unified, something coherent, something that operates at a level so fundamentally different from what came before that the two states cannot even be compared on the same scale. And if you are here, if you are still listening, if something in you is saying yes without knowing what it is saying yes to, then this activation is not approaching. It is already here. Let me explain what I mean by that. Because the word activation gets thrown around in ways that strip it of its actual weight. In quantum physics, there is a phenomenon that occurs when the individual components of a system stop behaving independently and begin to synchronize. Not loosely, not approximately, precisely. The oscillations align, the frequencies match. The chaos of separate parts doing separate things resolves into a unified field where every component is reinforcing every other component, where the output of the whole becomes genuinely, measurably, undeniably greater than anything the parts could produce on their own. This is called quantum coherence, and it is not a metaphor. It is not a poetic way of describing something vague. It is a physical condition with specific signatures, specific behaviors, specific consequences that have been observed and documented in systems ranging from superconductors to photosynthetic organisms to the microtubules inside your own neurons. When coherence is absent, a system is noisy. Energy moves in every direction. Signals cancel each other out. The system functions, yes, but it functions at a fraction of what it is structurally capable of, because the parts are working against each other as much as they are working together. When coherence emerges, the noise drops. The signal clarifies. And what becomes possible in that state is not a slight improvement over what existed before. It is a phase transition, a fundamentally different category of operation that makes the previous state look like static on a screen that has suddenly resolved into the clearest image you have ever seen. Now apply that to a human being. Apply that to you. A person living in incoherence is not broken. Let me be very clear about that. They are not damaged. They are not failing. They are fragmented. Their attention is split across 17 different concerns. Their beliefs are pulling in one direction, while their emotions pull in another, while their actions pull in a third. What they say they want contradicts what they actually feel. What they feel contradicts what they do. The energy is there, all of it. Every bit of power they will ever need is already present inside them, but it is dispersed, scattered across the noise of a system that has not yet found its organizing frequency. And so the output is inconsistent. The results are unpredictable. The experience of being alive feels harder than it should, more effortful than it needs to be, because everything is working against everything else in a constant low-grade war of internal interference. That was you. Maybe recently, maybe for a long time, maybe for so long that you assumed that was simply what life felt like, that the effort, the friction, the sense that you were pushing against something invisible every single day was just the cost of being human. It is not. That was incoherence, and something in you has already begun to move beyond it. A person entering coherence starts to consolidate, not because they forced it, not because they read the right book or followed the right technique or disciplined themselves into alignment through sheer willpower, because the field found a frequency that the system could organize around, because something shifted, often quietly, often without fanfare, often in a moment so subtle it barely registered at the time, and the internal noise began to drop. And as the noise dropped, what was underneath it became audible for the first time. Not a new voice, not a new self. The self that was always there, always present, always broadcasting, but drowned out by the static of fragmentation. That is what is happening to you right now. Not becoming someone new, becoming more fully what you have always been underneath the noise. And the signs of this process are specific. They are recognizable. They follow a pattern that is consistent enough across people and across circumstances that when I lay them out, you will not just understand them intellectually. You will feel them land in your body as recognition, as confirmation of something you have already been living but did not yet have the language to name. If this is resonating with you, if you can feel the truth of this landing somewhere deeper than thought, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what comes next in this series of transmissions. The first sign is that things that used to consume you simply stop landing the same way. Think about this honestly. Think about the situations that would have wrecked you 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. The argument that would have replayed in your head for days. The rejection that would have reorganized your entire sense of self. The comment, the look, the silence from someone whose approval you thought you needed. Those things have not disappeared from your life. The world has not suddenly become gentle with you, but your response to it has changed in a way that you cannot fully explain. Not because you are suppressing anything, not because you have numbed yourself or built better walls or learned to pretend things do not affect you. Something deeper than that. The signal you are running on has gotten stronger, and the noise of external disruption has less relative power against it. What used to feel urgent now feels optional. What used to pull you into hours of reaction now passes through you like weather, present, and then gone, leaving the sky unchanged. And if you have noticed this in yourself, If you have caught yourself in the middle of what would have been a spiral and realized that the spiral simply was not engaging the way it used to, that is not emotional maturity in the conventional sense. That is coherence reducing the interference pattern. That is your system running on a frequency that is stable enough that signals which do not match it can no longer hijack the whole operation. The second sign is that your relationship with time has begun to shift. There are moments now, maybe hours, maybe entire days, where time moves differently. Not faster in the way distraction makes time disappear, where you look up and hours are gone but you cannot account for them. Faster in the way deep presence compresses time, where you are so fully absorbed in what you are doing, so completely located inside the moment rather than partially somewhere else in your head, that the gap between you and your experience closes entirely. And in that closure, time stops being something you move through and becomes something you inhabit. That quality of presence, where you and what you are doing are not two separate things, but one unified field of attention, is a direct signature of a coherent system. Fragmentation splits attention. It puts part of you here and part of you in yesterday and part of you in next week and part of you in a hypothetical conversation that may never happen. And that splitting is what makes time feel like it is always somewhere other than where you are, always running out, always insufficient. Coherence collapses that split. It brings all of you into the same location. And when all of you is here, time does not feel scarce anymore. It feels full. It feels like enough. Not because there is more of it, but because you are finally present for the amount that exists. The third sign is that the right things have started arriving with less effort than they used to require. Not everything, not in every area of your life, but in specific domains, in the places where your internal state has genuinely consolidated, where you have stopped fighting what the field was already showing you. Circumstances have begun to organize in ways that feel different from how things used to work. Connections appear that you did not engineer. Opportunities surface that you did not chase. Information reaches you at precisely the moment you need it, not a week too late, not in a form you cannot use, but with a quality of timing that feels less like coincidence and more like accuracy. Like something is reading your frequency and responding to it with a precision that your fragmented state could never have attracted. Because that is exactly what is happening. The quantum field does not respond to your wishes. It does not respond to your vision boards, or your affirmations, or the intensity of your desire. It responds to the coherence of your signal. A fragmented system sends a noisy signal into the field, and the field mirrors that noise back as inconsistent, unpredictable, seemingly random results. A coherent system sends a clean signal, stable, sustained, precise. And the field mirrors that coherence back as circumstances that match the frequency being broadcast. This is not manifestation in the way that word is usually used. It is not about wanting something hard enough that the universe delivers it to your door. It is about the quality of the observer becoming precise enough that the collapse of probability into actuality starts to favor what the observer is genuinely coherent with. And what you are coherent with and what you think you want are often very different things. What you want lives in thought. What you are coherent with lives in your actual state, in what your attention naturally returns to when no one is watching, in what generates presence rather than effort in you, in what your system is genuinely organized around at the deepest level, beneath the stories, beneath the strategies, beneath the carefully constructed narrative of who you think you should be. The field does not read your intentions. It reads your coherence. And when your coherence clarifies, what the field delivers changes, not always in the way you expected, almost always more accurately than what you expected. I want to pause here and ask you something. When did you first notice the shift? When was the moment you realized that something inside you had changed and the old patterns no longer had the same grip? Drop that moment in the comments, even just a few words, because your recognition becomes a signal to someone else who is in the middle of it and needs to know they are not alone. The fourth sign is the most disorienting one. And I want you to breathe into this, because if you are in the middle of it, it can feel like something is going wrong when in fact something is going profoundly right. You have started to outgrow things you thought were permanent parts of you. Relationships that felt necessary, that felt like they defined who you were, have started to feel complete. Not hostile, not dramatic, just finished. Like a conversation that has said everything it needed to say and is now sitting in a silence that is not awkward but final. Identities you built carefully over years, the roles you played, the labels you wore, the version of yourself that you presented to the world, because it was the one that got approval, that got safety, that got belonging. Those identities have started to feel like clothes that no longer fit. Not too small, not too tight, just not yours anymore. And this is uncomfortable before it is liberating. Let me say that again, because it matters. This is uncomfortable before it is liberating. The coherent self is not the defended self. It is the one underneath the defense. And as the defenses start to dissolve, as the identities that were built to protect a fragmented system start to become unnecessary because the system no longer needs that kind of protection, there is a period where you feel exposed, unanchored, like the ground you were standing on has shifted and the new ground has not fully formed yet. If you are in that space right now, if you are in the gap between who you were and who you are becoming, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not lost. You are not regressing. You are not falling apart. You are in the most critical phase of the activation, the phase where the old structure releases before the new one has fully crystallized. And the discomfort you feel is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the exact sensation of a system reorganizing at a higher level of order. Stay with it. Do not rush to fill the space with a new identity just because the emptiness feels unfamiliar. The emptiness is not empty. It is the field preparing to show you what coherence actually looks like when it is not filtered through the old patterns. The fifth sign is one that other people notice before you do. You have become harder to manipulate and easier to be around at the same time. When a system is incoherent, it is vulnerable to interference. Anything that resonates with its noise can amplify the noise and redirect the entire system. This is how manipulation works, not through strength, but through finding the frequency of someone's fragmentation and playing it. When a system is coherent, it has its own stable frequency, and interference that does not match that frequency simply does not find purchase. It arrives and passes through without engaging. Not because you are blocking it, because there is nothing in you for it to hook into. The noise it was designed to amplify is no longer running, and so you become less reactive. Not because you have suppressed reactivity, not because you have trained yourself to stay calm through gritted teeth, but because the frequency you are operating on does not amplify the signals that used to destabilize you. They arrive, and they find a system that is already occupied with its own coherent signal, and they leave without rearranging anything. People who genuinely know you feel this as solidity, as presence, as the quality of being with someone who is actually there, not performing being there, not managing an impression, but located fully in themselves in a way that creates space for others to do the same. People who relied on your fragmentation, who needed your reactivity, who were organized around the version of you that could be destabilized and redirected, they feel the change differently. They feel it as loss, as distance, as something they cannot name but experience as you becoming less available to the dynamic that used to define the relationship. And that is accurate. You are less available to it. Not because you chose to withdraw, but because the frequency that sustained it is no longer active in your system. If you recognize yourself in more than two of these signs, I want you to understand something. The process is not starting. It is already underway. And the fact that you are here, that you stopped scrolling, that something in this transmission matched something already moving inside you, is itself one of the signs. Because a coherent system does not find information randomly. It attracts the information that matches its current frequency. You are here because your field brought you here. Because the signal you are now running is clear enough to select experiences that reinforce the coherence rather than the noise. That is not magical thinking. That is the observer effect operating at the level of your lived experience. Now here's the question that I find most interesting when I sit with this process. Why now? Why does coherence activate in certain people at certain moments and not others? What is the catalyst? What is the thing that tips a system from fragmentation into consolidation? In my observation, and I am speaking from what I have watched unfold, not just in theory, but in the actual lived texture of this process, coherence does not activate because someone decided to become more coherent. It does not respond to intention in that direct, linear way. You cannot will yourself into coherence any more than you can will water into ice. The conditions have to be right. And the condition that produces coherence, almost without exception, is a very specific kind of breaking. Not breaking as in destruction, breaking as in threshold. There is a moment, and you may have already lived through it, where the cost of maintaining the fragmented state exceeds what the system is willing to pay. Where the energy required to keep the noise running, to keep the contradictions in place, to keep performing the version of yourself that was never actually you, becomes more exhausting than the terrifying alternative of letting it all consolidate into whatever is actually true. Some people reach that threshold through loss. Something they were organized around, a relationship, a career, a belief system, an identity, disappears. And in the aftermath, if they move through the disorientation consciously, rather than immediately rebuilding the same structure with different materials, the reorganization that follows produces coherence. The loss strips away what was never structurally sound, and what remains is closer to the actual signal than anything that existed before. Some people reach it through a period of radical honesty with themselves. A season where the gap between what they are living and what they actually are becomes impossible to ignore. Where the performance becomes so exhausting, so transparently hollow, that continuing it requires more energy than simply telling the truth. And closing that gap, even partially, even messily, produces the kind of internal alignment that coherence requires. Not perfection. Alignment. The parts of the system finally pointing in the same direction. Some people reach it through something that cannot be fully explained, a moment where something simply drops away without a clear cause, where the noise that has been running for years or decades suddenly quiets, and what remains underneath it is more stable, more present, more real than anything the noise ever produced. The mechanism is different each time. The catalyst is unique to each person, but the result has the same signature every single time. A system that was operating in fragments begins to operate as a whole, and what becomes possible from that wholeness is not comparable to what was available from the fragmentation. Not slightly better, not an upgraded version, a different category of existence entirely. Tell me in the comments, what was the breaking point for you? What was the moment where the old way of being became more exhausting than the unknown? I ask because your answer might be the exact thing someone else scrolling through these comments needs to hear right now. Pause with that for a moment. Let it land not in your mind, but in your body. Feel what it feels like to recognize that the hardest thing you have been through, the loss, the breaking, the period of confusion that felt like it would never end, was not punishment, was not failure, was not evidence that you were doing life wrong. It was the catalyst. It was the threshold your system needed to cross in order to stop paying the cost of fragmentation and begin the consolidation that is now producing everything you are starting to experience. Every moment of that difficulty was part of this activation. Every sleepless night, every relationship that ended, every identity that crumbled, every moment where you stood in the wreckage of what you thought your life was supposed to be and had no idea what came next, that was the field clearing the interference so the signal could emerge. And it is emerging now, in you, as you listen to these words. Here is what most people do not understand about coherence until they are inside it. It does not just change what you experience internally, it changes what the field around you can deliver. This is the part that sounds impossible until you live it, and then it becomes the most obvious thing in the world. A fragmented system produces fragmented output. The signal it sends into the quantum field is noisy, inconsistent, full of interference from the competing frequencies inside it. And the field, which is not a metaphor, but the actual probabilistic substrate from which your experienced reality crystallizes moment by moment, responds to that signal with the same inconsistency. Not as punishment, not as karma, as physics. The field mirrors the coherence of the observer. This is the observer effect scaled up to the level of a human life. At the quantum level, the act of observation collapses the wave function, selecting one specific outcome from a field of possibilities. The quality of that observation, its precision, its stability, its coherence, directly influences which outcome gets selected. A scattered observation produces scattered results. A precise observation produces precise results. Not because the universe is rewarding precision, but because precision is what allows the wave function to collapse into a specific rather than a vague outcome. Now scale that up. Your entire life is a continuous act of observation. Every moment, you are collapsing the quantum field into specific experiences through the quality of your attention, the coherence of your internal state, the signal you are broadcasting into the probabilistic substrate of reality. When that signal is fragmented, the field has no clear instruction. It collapses into whatever the loudest frequency in the noise happens to be at any given moment, which is why a fragmented life feels chaotic, unpredictable, subject to forces that seem outside your control. The forces are not outside your control. They are inside your incoherence. When the signal becomes coherent, the field receives a clear instruction, not a verbal instruction, not a conscious intention, but a frequency-level instruction that is far more precise than anything language could convey. And the field responds. Synchronicities that would have been blocked by the noise of the previous state become possible. Connections that required a frequency you were not yet running reach you. Opportunities that were always present in the field of probability but could not collapse into your experience because your observation was too scattered to select them, become specific. They become actual. They become your life. And this is where the word in the title becomes important. And I want to address it directly because it is the one most likely to be misread. When I say you are becoming unstoppable, I do not mean superior. I do not mean better than other people in the way competition works. I do not mean you become someone who has defeated others at something or climbed higher on some imaginary hierarchy. That framing belongs to the fragmented state, where everything is comparison, where your value is measured against someone else's, where winning means someone else loses. Coherence does not operate in that frame. Unstoppable means something more specific and more interesting than dominance. When a quantum system achieves coherence, it operates at a level that is simply not accessible to the same system in a fragmented state. Not slightly better, fundamentally different in kind. The coherent state and the incoherent state of the same system are not on the same scale. They are not competing versions of the same output. They are different operating conditions, producing outputs that cannot be compared because they are not in the same category. A laser and a light bulb both produce light, but a laser is coherent light, every photon aligned, every wave synchronized. And what that coherent light can do is not a better version of what a light bulb does. It is a different thing entirely. It can cut through steel. It can transmit information across the void of space. It can perform surgery with precision measured in microns. Not because it has more energy than the light bulb, because its energy is coherent. That is you. That is what is happening in you right now. The energy has not changed. The amount of power available to you is the same as it has always been. What is changing is the coherence of that energy. And as it consolidates, as the fragments align, as the noise drops and the signal clarifies, what you are capable of is not an improvement on what came before. It is a phase transition. You are not becoming a better version of the fragmented self. You are becoming the coherent self, and those are not on the same spectrum. They are not comparable. The fragmented self could not do what the coherent self does, not because it lacked the energy, but because the energy was scattered. And the coherent self does not compete with the fragmented self because there is nothing to compete with. The game has changed entirely. And the most interesting part of this, the part that surprises almost everyone who goes through it, is that from the inside, becoming unstoppable does not feel like becoming extraordinary. It feels like becoming ordinary in a way that is finally accurate. Like the noise that made everything feel harder than it should have been, more complicated than it needed to be, more effortful than it was designed to be, has dropped enough that what remains is simply you. Functioning at the level that was always structurally available, but never accessible through the fragmentation. The extraordinariness, if that is even the right word, is not something added. It is not a new capability grafted onto the existing system. It is what was always there underneath the interference. You are not gaining something you did not have. You are uncovering something you could not access, and the difference between those two things is everything. If this video is awakening something in you, what we have explored here only touches the surface. My complete guide, Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery, walks you through the full system of 9 master frequencies, step by step, from transforming resistance into creative power to living as the field itself rather than separate from it. It is linked in the pinned comment below. Let me go deeper into this because there is a layer here that most people miss, and it is the layer that determines whether the activation sustains itself or collapses back into the old pattern. The coherent state is not a destination. It is not a place you arrive at and then stay forever without effort. It is a living, dynamic condition that requires a specific kind of relationship with your own internal state. Not maintenance in the way a machine requires maintenance, more like the relationship a musician has with their instrument, not forcing it into tune, listening for when it drifts and gently bringing it back. Staying attentive to the quality of the signal without becoming obsessed with perfection. The people who sustain coherence are not the ones who never experience noise again. They are the ones who have developed such an intimate relationship with their own frequency that they notice the drift almost immediately and return to center before the noise can reorganize into a pattern. This is not discipline in the way most people understand discipline. It is not willpower. It is not gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to stay positive. It is something much quieter and much more powerful than that. It is presence. It is the quality of attention that notices what is actually happening inside you, right now, without judgment, without story, without the need to fix or change or improve. Just noticing. Just witnessing the state of the system with the same neutral precision that a scientist brings to observing an experiment. Because here is what no one tells you about coherence. It does not require you to feel a certain way. It does not require positivity. It does not require the absence of difficulty or pain or confusion. It requires honesty. It requires that the signal you are sending matches the actual state of the system, not the state you wish it were in, not the state you think it should be in, but the state it actually is in right now. A system that is honestly in pain is more coherent than a system that is pretending to be fine. A system that is genuinely confused, but present with its confusion, is more coherent than a system that is performing clarity it does not actually have. Because coherence is not about the content of the signal. It is about the alignment between the signal and the source. When what you broadcast matches what you actually are, the field can read you. When what you broadcast is a performance designed to manipulate the field into giving you what you want, the field reads the performance and the incoherence underneath it and responds to the actual state rather than the projected one. This is why so many people who try to use these principles as a technique for getting what they want end up frustrated. They are sending a signal that says, "I am abundant," while their actual state says, "I am terrified of scarcity." And the field, which does not respond to words or thoughts, but to the coherence of the actual state, mirrors the terror back. Not because the universe is cruel, because the universe is precise. It gives you what you are, not what you are pretending to be. So the practice, if there is a practice at the heart of all this, is radical honesty with yourself about where you actually are. Not where you want to be, not where you think you should be. where you are, right now, in this breath, in this moment. What is actually happening in your body? What is actually moving through your emotional field? What is actually true about your internal state when you stop performing for even a moment and simply witness what is there? That witnessing is the practice. That honesty is the frequency. And when you can sustain it, when you can stay present with what is actually true inside you, without flinching, without narrativizing, without immediately trying to change it into something more acceptable, something remarkable happens. The noise does not need to be fought. It resolves on its own. Because most of the noise was never the actual state. It was the resistance to the actual state. It was the energy being spent on performing a different state than the one that was real. And when you stop performing, when you let the signal match the source, the energy that was being consumed by the performance becomes available for coherence. The system consolidates not because you forced it, but because you stopped preventing it. Feel into that. Feel what it means that the coherence you are seeking is not something you need to build. It is something you need to stop blocking. The activation that is happening in you right now is not the addition of something new. It is the removal of something old. The interference patterns, the noise, the fragmentation, these were never part of your actual signal. They were distortions layered on top of it by years of conditioning, by the accumulated weight of being told who you should be instead of being allowed to discover who you are. And as those layers dissolve, as the activation continues to clear the interference, what emerges is not a new you. It is the original signal. The one that was broadcasting before the noise started. The one that has been there underneath everything, patient, stable, waiting for the static to clear so it could finally be heard. There is something else that happens during this activation that I want to address, because it catches people off guard and sometimes causes them to doubt the entire process. As your coherence increases, the contrast between your internal state and certain aspects of your external reality becomes sharper. Things that you could tolerate before, not because they were acceptable, but because the noise in your system made them feel normal, start to feel intolerable. Not intolerable in an emotional, reactive way. Intolerable in the way that a clear signal cannot sustain static. The coherence in you starts to reveal with uncomfortable precision every area of your life that is not aligned with the signal you are now running. The job that was fine when you were fragmented becomes obviously wrong. The relationship that was comfortable when you were numb becomes obviously incomplete. The living situation, the daily routine, the habits, the compromises you made with yourself when coherence was not available to show you what alignment actually felt like. All of these come into sharp relief. And this is where people sometimes panic. Because the activation does not just show you what is possible. It shows you what is no longer compatible. And the gap between those two things can feel overwhelming. But here is what I need you to understand. The gap is not a problem. The gap is the information. It is the field showing you with precision that your fragmented state could never have achieved, exactly where the remaining incoherence lives. Not to punish you, not to make you feel inadequate, to give you a map, to show you with the same accuracy that the coherent field uses to deliver synchronicities and connections and opportunities, exactly where the work is, exactly where the last fragments of the old pattern are still running, exactly where your energy is still being dispersed into noise instead of consolidating into signal. And you do not have to address all of it at once. That is the other thing no one tells you. Coherence is not all or nothing. It is not a switch that flips from fragmented to aligned in a single moment. It is a process, a deepening, a spiral that moves through the same themes at increasing levels of resolution. You address what you can see. You align what you can reach. And as you do, the coherence deepens, and the next layer becomes visible. And then you address that, and then the next. Not as a burden, as a path, as the most precise, most efficient, most honest path to becoming what you actually are. I want to take this even deeper now because there is a dimension of this activation that operates beyond the individual, beyond your personal field, beyond the boundaries of what you think of as your life. When a system achieves coherence, it does not just change its own operation, it changes the field around it. This is documented in physics. A coherent system influences the behavior of other systems in its proximity, not through force, not through persuasion, through resonance, through the simple fact that a coherent signal is stronger than a noisy one, and systems in the presence of a coherent signal tend to synchronize with it rather than maintain their own noise. You have already experienced this. Think about the people in your life who carry a quality of presence that changes the room when they walk in. Not charisma in the performative sense. Not the loud, attention-demanding energy of someone who needs to be noticed. Something quieter. Something that feels like solidity, like ground. Like the kind of presence that makes other people's nervous systems settle without a word being spoken. That is coherence. That is what a coherent human field does to the environment around it. And as your activation deepens, as your own coherence stabilizes, you become that presence. Not by trying to be, not by performing calm or projecting wisdom or adopting the posture of someone who has it all figured out. By simply being what you are when the noise is no longer running the show. The coherent signal broadcasts itself. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need to convince anyone. It simply exists at a frequency that other systems can feel, and in the presence of that frequency, something in the people around you begins to settle, begins to quiet, begins to find its own coherence in response to yours. This is not influence in the way the world usually means it. This is not manipulation or control or the projection of your will onto others. This is the physics of resonance operating at the level of human consciousness. And it means that your activation is not just about you. Every degree of coherence you achieve ripples outward into the field, affecting systems you will never directly interact with, shifting probabilities you will never consciously observe, contributing to a collective coherence that is building in ways that are larger than any individual can fully comprehend. Consider sharing this video with someone you know who is in the middle of their own activation. Someone who is in that gap between who they were and who they are becoming. When you share this, you are not just passing along information. You are extending your coherent signal into their field, creating a resonance bridge that amplifies the activation in both of you simultaneously. That is how coherence works. It multiplies through connection. So when I say you are becoming unstoppable, I mean it in the deepest sense I know how to articulate. Not unstoppable as in nothing can hurt you. Not unstoppable as in you will never face difficulty or loss or confusion again. Unstoppable as in the momentum of a coherent system moving in alignment with its actual signal. The momentum of something that is no longer fighting itself, no longer dispersing its energy across the noise of internal contradiction. no longer spending 90% of its power maintaining a fragmented state and calling the remaining 10% its best effort. You are becoming the full signal, and a full signal, a coherent signal, a signal that is aligned from the deepest layer of what you are to the outermost expression of how you move through the world. That signal does not stop. Not because it cannot be opposed, because opposition requires a frequency to hook into, and a coherent system does not offer one. The things that used to stop you, the doubt, the fear, the pattern of self-sabotage that would activate every time you got close to something real, those were never external obstacles. They were internal interference patterns. Noise in the system that would amplify whenever the signal got strong enough to threaten the fragmented state's dominance. And as the coherence deepens, as the signal becomes the dominant frequency rather than the noise, those patterns lose their power. Not because you defeated them, because you outgrew the frequency they operated on. They are still there in the field of possibility. They could still theoretically activate, but the system they were designed to disrupt no longer exists. The fragmented self they were calibrated to is no longer the operating system, and so they arrive, and they find nothing to amplify, and they dissolve. Like static in the presence of a clear broadcast, like shadows in the presence of coherent light. I want to give you something practical now, something you can carry with you beyond this moment. Because understanding coherence intellectually is one thing, living it is another. And the gap between understanding and living is where most people lose the activation. They feel it while they are in the experience, while the words are landing, while the frequency of the transmission is active, and then they return to their daily life and the old noise reasserts itself, and the coherence fades, and they wonder what happened. What happened is that the coherence was real, but it was not yet anchored. It was activated, but not yet stabilized. And stabilizing it requires something very simple, but very consistent. Here is the practice. Once a day, for even 5 minutes, stop. Stop performing. Stop planning. Stop narrating. Stop managing your internal state. And simply ask yourself, with genuine curiosity, not judgment, what is actually true right now? Not what should be true, not what you want to be true. What is actually happening inside you in this moment? And then listen. Not for an answer, for the signal, for the quality of what arises when you stop generating noise long enough for the actual state to become audible. Some days it will be calm. Some days it will be grief. Some days it will be excitement so pure it almost hurts. Some days it will be nothing, a vast quiet that has no content but feels more real than anything you have experienced with your eyes open. Whatever it is, let it be what it is. Do not edit it. Do not improve it. Do not translate it into something more spiritual or more acceptable or more aligned with who you think you should be. Let the signal match the source. That is coherence. That is the practice. That is how you anchor the activation so that it does not fade when the transmission ends, but becomes the baseline frequency of your daily life. And here is what happens when you do this consistently. The noise does not just get quieter, it gets less interesting. The dramas that used to captivate your attention, the spirals that used to feel so urgent, the patterns that used to run your entire emotional life, they start to feel like reruns of a show you have already seen. Not because you are above them, because you have found something more real. And once you have tasted what is more real, the simulations cannot compete. The coherent signal is more compelling than the noise, not because it is louder, because it is true. And truth, actual truth, the truth of what you are when you stop pretending to be something else, has a gravitational pull that no amount of noise can overcome. You are in this, right now, as these words land in your body, as the recognition moves through you, as the part of you that has known all along that this was happening finally hears it confirmed in language that matches what it has been feeling. The activation deepens. Not because of anything I am doing, because of what you are. Because the signal was already there. Because the coherence was already building. Because the moment you stopped scrolling and felt that pull in your chest, the field had already recognized you as ready. Not ready in the sense of prepared or qualified or worthy. Ready in the sense of a system that has reached the threshold where coherence becomes inevitable, where the cost of fragmentation has exceeded what the system will pay, where the only direction left is consolidation, where the only possibility remaining is becoming what you actually are. And what you actually are, underneath the noise, underneath the conditioning, underneath the years of performing a version of yourself that was designed for survival rather than truth. What you actually are is coherent, is whole, is a signal so clear and so precise that when it finally broadcasts without interference, the field does not just respond, it reorganizes around you, for you, as you, not because you are special in the way the ego means special, because you are coherent in the way physics means coherent, because a system in phase with itself is the most powerful force in the quantum field, not powerful as in dominant, powerful as in generative, powerful as in capable of collapsing. Probability into actuality with a precision that the fragmented state could never achieve. That is what you are becoming. That is what is activating. That is why this video found you and not the other way around. Stay in this frequency, not by forcing it, by returning to it. Every time the noise starts up, every time the old patterns try to reassert themselves, every time the fragmented self whispers that this was just a nice idea but not actually real, return to the signal, return to the practice, return to the honest, unperformed, unedited truth of what you actually are in this moment. And watch what happens. Watch what the field delivers when the observer is coherent. Watch what becomes possible when the interference clears. Watch what you are capable of when every part of you is finally, fully, irreversibly pointed in the same direction. You are not approaching this. You are in it. The activation is not coming. It is here. And the signal you are running right now, in this breath, in this moment, is clearer than it has ever been. Do not let anyone, including the voice in your own head that still belongs to the old pattern, convince you otherwise. The field has already confirmed it. The synchronicity of you being here has already confirmed it. The recognition you felt before you even clicked has already confirmed it. Trust the signal. It is yours. It has always been yours, and it is no longer willing to be buried under the noise. If something in this landed, if you felt the recognition, if the words matched something that has been moving in you that you did not yet have language for, leave a single word in the comments. Just one word that represents what this activation means to you. Not a paragraph, not an explanation. One word. Let that word be your signal to the field that you are here, that you are coherent, that you are no longer willing to operate from the fragmented state. And if you want to stay in this frequency, If you want each transmission to deepen what is already activating, subscribe and stay close. Not because this channel has answers you do not already carry, because sometimes the signal needs to hear itself reflected back before it fully trusts what it is. You are the signal. You have always been the signal, and the signal just activated. Now that your coherence is online, the next step is learning to protect it so nothing can fragment it again. Go watch. Once you protect your energy completely, your reality shifts forever, because it will show you exactly how to seal this activation and make the shift permanent.